This is Lions on Tap, a weekly look inside the Lions' Den, presented by Coors Light, the chilled choice and official beer of the BC Lions. Highlights, interviews, and a look ahead to this week's game. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and the voice of your BC Lions, Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
Welcome to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW and the Lions Audio Network as we come to you tonight from the 120 Pub, Scott Road and 80th in Surrey, going urban in the burbs. And all I have to say about the 120 Pub is wow. And I say that, Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski, because as a young buck, I used to come to this place when it was called the Whaler.
As did I, and I got to correct you quick. We're on the North Delta side.
All right. North Delta
Just if you,
side.
yeah.
Whatever. Formalities.
Just want to make sure you're on your
Many
toes.
a night we'd come here after playing in Newton Fast Pitch League, the mighty Dodgers, old school fast pitch.
Yep.
Randy Green. We used to go against our big squad that we used to play against was Menchie's. That had Mike Moda, Kevin Mack, and Davy Jones behind the plate. Good ball club. But yeah, we used to come here quite a bit back in the day. And man, like I said, I got to say, wow. You don't even recognize the place. I mean, obviously it's been completely renovated, gutted, and it's an absolutely beautiful pub, probably the nicest pub we've been during our on-tap tour this year.
Yeah, it's a great spot. My old neck of the woods as well, and yeah, great place to watch a game.
Gotta get a couple BC Lions jerseys up in here, though, eh? Couple Canucks jerseys over here, but
we'll get a couple Lions jerseys up.
We'll make a phone call.
Yeah. Well, here we are at the 120 Pub in Surrey or Delta, whichever you prefer. After a BC Lions lost to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, what was it, 36-9? I don't even want to remember the score, fellas, but
something
man,
like that.
It just seemed it was not the Lions' night right from the get-go. When I've never seen a ball go through a receiver's hands, hit the receiver's heel, pop up, and the other team take it in for a pick six. I've never seen that.
And it even went off another defender first, too, right before it landed.
They juggled it a couple of times. I thought it was an incompletion. I mean, I was looking at it, and it was on the far side.
You're on the other.
And all of a sudden, A.J. Allen's racing down the sideline. I'm like, is this an interception? Yeah, it was. And it just seemed like the Lions couldn't recover from that blow early. They came close, 16-8. And, of course, the play that the Lions went for it on 2nd and 2, along 2, and Saskatchewan territory got stuffed. Saskatchewan winds up punting after that. Then the Lions turn the ball over again, results in 7 points, and then another turnover right before the half results in 3 points, and it's 26-8 going into the locker room, and that was basically the night.
Yeah, the McInnes fumble for me was a real backbreaker, and then, of course, there's another turnover right after that, and they give him 3 more points. There was just enough time left on the clock for Saskatchewan to kick another field goal. And, obviously the scoreboard, the box score, you watch the highlights, not good. And all of a sudden, I know we're going to talk about the Montreal Alouettes first for the most part here tonight. But you're in all likelihood looking at a return trip to Saskatchewan for the Western semifinal.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
I mean, Winnipeg can lose in Montreal. Saskatchewan will wind up beating Calgary. And we're back in the Death Star in Winnipeg.
I get that, but I'm just trying to think positive because I know you want to go to Regina, as do we. So we want to save Winnipeg until the Western final. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a lot to clean up, and I suppose we'll get into the news of the day here at some point, if you want to call it that.
What was that?
Vernon Adams Jr. apparently is starting.
It's not apparently, he is.
Is starting, and there's a lot to take from that game that is not good, but have to move forward from it as well.
Well, I think the big thing that I've seen with this football club, and it just seems right now they've got to get that belief back, that belief that we're going to win no matter what the circumstances, and I don't know if they have that right now. And I think Rick Campbell's looking for it by giving Vernon Adams Jr. the spot, and that's nothing against Nathan Rourke. I mean, he's had an awfully difficult set of circumstances. Everybody thought he was just going to show up and be 2022 Nathan Rourke again and put up video game numbers. And to Nathan's defense, I wrote about this when he first arrived. Nathan doesn't play defense. He doesn't play offensive line. He doesn't play special teams, right? He's a quarterback. And a lot was expected of him. And I think one of the big issues, too, with Nathan, and I wrote about this today for my column for Black Press, is that Nathan is such a perfectionist. that, like, he takes this all on himself, right? And when the team struggles like this, it's not that he's played extremely poorly. No one's saying that. It's just he hasn't been the Nathan Rourke that people expected. And hopefully that'll come. Hopefully it'll come either by the end of this year or next year. But, right now this team needs a change of quarterback, as Rick Campbell said, to give it a spark, a different sort of energy, and we'll see what Vernon Adams Jr. can do.
And it is all you need to know about Nathan Rourke. He's still approaching it like he is playing. Out there, he's the last guy out there doing extra work by himself on the grass after practice. So, yeah, long term, it is what it is, but it's about winning right now. And Rick Campbell feels, obviously, if this team needs a spark, then you give Vernon Adams this last game. If he plays well, who knows? You likely maybe stick with him in the playoffs.
Oh, you have to.
And there's a reason, and there's a reason all along Rick has said that Vernon had to be a part of this with Nathan coming back, and now you're seeing the benefit of it.
If Vernon lights it up against Montreal, he will play.
Without question, yeah.
I mean, Rick said as much today, right? So it's a fluid situation at quarterback, but I know one thing, this team, and not to say it doesn't believe in Nathan, because it does, but it believes in Vernon Adams Jr. I mean, this is a very good quarterback. He was in consideration for the most outstanding player award until he got hurt. Yes, there was a bit of a fall off with the game against Winnipeg and the loss against Calgary, but I mean, a 5-1 start under Vernon Adams Jr. I mean, remember the game in Hamilton, Nick Kowalski, where it was over by halftime, right? I mean, he was close to 300 yards passing in that game. So getting Vernon Adams back. Now, the catch-22 with Vernon, and Jay Janauer pointed this out today. I think he's thrown, 7 passes in the last 8 weeks, right? So
second half against Toronto. Yeah.
How effective will Vernon Adams be, considering the fact that he hasn't played in almost 2 months? But we're going to find out when the Montreal Alouettes come to town.
That's exactly it. And even in his media scrum today, Vernon said, I'm not going to be Superman and make all these plays, but he was Superman back to start the season, like you were alluding to. There was a couple games at home against Calgary and Saskatchewan where there's plays where I was actually listening to Dan Orlovsky last night in the Monday Night Preview, and he was talking about Justin Fields' hidden yards where he should have been sacked into major plays. And that's something I think Vernon was doing such a good job at, and he was maneuvering the pocket really well. So there are several plays there where he is being Superman, where he should be wrapped up for a 7-yard loss, but then he hits.
Well, and to Nathan Rourke's defense, he pretty much did the same on some occasions as well. So,
but it's a team game, right? Like,
it is, and that's what I think Vernon meant by saying he's not Superman. He can't play specials. He can't play defense. It's interesting because I asked him today, I said, what's the biggest challenge with the rust, not having played in such a long time? And Vernon said, I don't know. I've never been in this situation before, right? So he's going to find out pretty quick.
True.
But, this team does need some sort of spark. We'll talk to linebacker Ryder Varga. He's our guest here tonight at the 120 Pub. But they need some sort of spark, and hopefully Vernon can provide it. And guess what, fellas? The ironic part about this is that Rick Campbell has gone through this before. Right?
Yep.
With the 2016 Ottawa Redblacks. Henry Burris started the season as quarterback. He got hurt. Trevor Harris came in. Then Burris came in from, I think, weeks 6 through 10. And then he was replaced by Trevor Harris. Harris was, okay, whatever, so-so, games 10 through 15. And then they went with Henry Burris at the end, and guess how that wound up? They won a Grey Cup, even though they finished the season with a sub-500 record. Would you love history to duplicate or replicate itself? Of course you would, but that's a big ask. But hey, it's happened before. That's the point that I'm trying to make. It's happened before. Rick Campbell has seen it happen before, and hopefully he can draw on that experience to somehow help him through this experience with the Lions.
Well, this team's ceiling is so high too, right? Just 5 weeks ago, we saw this team go into this Montreal team, this juggernaut Alouettes team, and almost put up 500 yards on them. William Stanback, the defense getting those 2 and outs after those, again, Plinko interceptions that we saw pop up last week. The team's ceiling is so high, and they know that. And I think, the belief thing, Moj, the red zone, everything. The execution. If they get that down, they can compete with anybody.
Well, that's the thing. They just got to get that swagger back. And if they get that swagger back, they can be a dangerous team. We saw it against. When you watch that game in Montreal, right? And Neil McAvoy made a great point. At no time did you think the Lions were going to lose that game. They were playing with such confidence, such aggression, and I don't know where it went. Right? It's kind of disappeared over the course of the last month. But this is a team that when it plays with that swagger, plays with that belief. You know what the difference is between good teams, championship teams, and teams that struggle? The championship teams, no matter what the circumstances, always believe that they're going to win. they're always thinking, we're going to win, we're going to find a way, we're going to get it done, right? The teams that struggle, as soon as something bad happens, it's like, oh, here we go again, right? They've just got to get that swagger back. And if they do, man, who knows what happens. And, you know, the crazy thing is I had a buddy of mine phone me up before the Saskatchewan game. He said, so which version of Sybil is going to show up this week? Before your time, Kowalski, probably even before Bake's time, there was a movie in 1976 called Sybil, starring Sally Field. It was about a young woman who had 13 personality disorders, right? And that's what this Lions team, you don't know what you're getting from week to week, right? You really don't. As somebody asked me about this team, I said, usually I can get a pretty good feel about how they're playing and what's going to happen. But I mean, with this Lions team, honestly, it's just been like they've been consistently inconsistent. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And you point to that Montreal win as the template. Remember, it was Will Stanback that day. I think he had something like 155 all-purpose yards and a big touchdown, motivated playing his old team. We know this Lions team is going outside in the playoffs. Have to get number 31 going, too. He's going to have to be involved and be a big part of this.
Well, again, William Stanback, and that, you know, boils down to how well the offensive line plays. You have to play complementary football as well.
Huge.
Hey, bad things happen, right? Bad things will happen in a game. And when they do, you need the other part of the ball, the other part of your team to go out there and pick it up for you. Defense gives up a big drive. Guess what? Offense got to go out there and they've got to score. If the offense has a turnover or there's a big return on specials, defense got to go out there and get a 2-and-out. We saw that complementary football. I noticed the game in Victoria. There's a couple times in that game where the Ottawa Red Blacks got a big return. They got down to the BC 40-yard line, 2-and-out. Turnover, BC territory, 2-and-out. And that's what they got to get back to doing. They got to get back to – and you do that by being confident, by being aggressive. And they've got to do that in all three facets of the game.
One last little note from me and what I'm looking for moving forward is a guy like Alexander Hollins, right? He started off the season so hot. When Vernon was on his A game, Alex Hollins was on his A game. And I don't have the stat in front of me, but whenever Hollins catches a ball for more than 30 yards, he has a big explosive catch.
Wow.
If it's just one, I guarantee you the Lions record is a stout when he does that. So you need to unlock Alex Hollins downfield.
We'll get Steve Daniel to dig that up.
All right, again, we're coming to you tonight from the 120 Pub on Scott Road and 80th, as Bake is telling us, in North Delta. It's on the North Delta side. Sunday, all-day happy hour. All-day happy hour here at the 120 Pub. And Monday, all-day half-price food. How good is that, to quote David Pratt?
Very good.
If you want to pop by, again, they're going urban in the burbs, 120 Pub. Big shout-out to Matthew and his staff for making us feel welcome tonight. I had the Caribbean wings, outstanding. So I don't know what you guys had. Caribbean wings were outstanding.
Buffalo chicken wrap for the win.
There
yes.
you go. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, Lions linebacker Ryder Varga joins us. We'll talk to Ryder about the Lions season, his season, and his journey in the game of football. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW.
Now back to more of Lions on Tap, presented by Coors Light. Once again, here are Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW. You heard the man. It's the Moj. Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski from the Lions Media Relations and Social Content Team, respectively. Coming to you tonight from the 120 Pub, Scott Road and 80th in the Delta side of this area, according to Baker. Formerly the Whaler Pub, as I mentioned right off the get-go. My first time in here since it's been renovated. Man, oh man, it is absolutely gorgeous what they've done in here. You can't even recognize the place. It's spectacular. And as I said, probably one of the nicest establishments we have been to on our on-tap tour. Sunday, all-day happy hour. Monday, all-day half-price food. Check it out. Scott Road and 80th in Delta. Our guest now stops by for a visit, and that is Lions linebacker Ryder Varga. Ryder, nice to have you aboard. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me, guys. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, well, you will be excited, I guess, but maybe not for the first 5 minutes, because we're going to have to talk about what happened in Regina. I mean, from your perspective, give us your assessment of the loss in Regina.
Yeah, I mean, as a defense, I'll speak on that first. I just feel like we knew what they were going to do coming into the game, and we kind of knew how they were going to try to attack us, and we just didn't show up to make the plays when we needed to make plays, or make the stand when we needed to make like the big stand for our offense. So they didn't do anything crazy. Our minds weren't blown by what they were doing, but we just got to find a way to to come up big for our team when we need to.
TSN panel made a real big point, and they harped on this, and they said that the Riders brought it a lot more than you. They had way more intensity. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I would say as far as our defense, especially even just bringing that confidence and that swagger that you guys were kind of talking about before. I feel like we did not really have that. In someone make a big play and you look around and everybody's kind of just moseying back to the huddle and doing their own thing. So it's kind of, you need everybody on board and everybody excited, and it's like a mental warfare out there too. So if you're on the offense, you can see everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, not really engaged, then you're kind of more confident in your abilities, no offense to go score. So
what else has RP and in your room, Travis Brown, been preaching as you review that one and get ready for Montreal?
I mean, you watch the tape. I mean, at least from the linebackers, we watched it today. It wasn't like we didn't get completely outmanned out there. I've been in football games where from the get-go you just okay, we're boys amongst men here. We just can't compete.
It's like when Regina played UBC, right?
Yeah, a couple times. I hate to
allegedly,
say it, but a couple times, yeah. But it wasn't that feeling at all. They weren't outmanning us. I wasn't out there on the field wow, these guys are just way better coach, way better athletes. It wasn't that at all. It's just we weren't executing our scheme, and maybe our scheme wasn't being executed as well as RP intended it to be.
I know you guys think one game at a time or one day at a time, one play at a time, all of that, but obviously the stakes this past Saturday set up potential rematch to go to Winnipeg, to go to Regina. Now that's the road you guys are going to have to take to come back home, ironically. Just talk about that and how much you're fueled now, especially you're the prairie boy on this team. There's a bunch of Sasky boys, but now the fact that this team, if they want to get to the ultimate goal, it's going to go through these West Prairie teams.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of adversity for sure. It'll be a fun story at the end of it. That's the way I'm thinking about it. It'll be good to go out there in some frigid games and play the way I know we can play football and get some tough road wins in hostile environments. I think that'll be really good for character building for our team, and I think it'll pay dividends.
How does this team get back to playing with the swagger they had earlier in the year? The swagger that they had against the Alouettes in Montreal, and we'll ask defense specifically because that's your side of the ball, but getting that swagger back that you had. And, I mentioned the Ottawa game, and you might recall, there were a couple of big plays, and the defense went out there, and it was a 2-and-out, right? And I just wondered, we talk about the game being so much between the ears. How do you get that back?
I think it starts at an individual level. You got to find the energy within yourself to get amped up for when your teammate makes a big play or when the offense is on the field cheering them on. It starts at the individual level, and then you need the collective, everybody to be bought in and everybody to believe that we are going to win this game. Like you said, you can't let one bad play or one bad drive hamper your mood and your energy. So every drive, bringing the energy, trying to lift guys up, and when you do make a big play, get excited, swag out with your teammates. So I think that'll be step one, and we're going to bring that energy all week at practice and see if it carries over to the game.
Trevor Harris, I think he has obviously been a big reason for the Riders getting back to their winning ways. Just your assessment of going up against him compared to some of the other quarterbacks you've faced this year, and is there anything from his game you can take and learn in the event you see him in a couple more weeks? I
think he's very good at reading, defense and being very decisive with the football. I mean, he had 83% or 84% completion percentage against us, so he was pretty quick to assess what we were doing and what kind of coverage we were in and making the right reads. So just trying to disguise some stuff maybe and trying to, identify what, his hot reads are and where we can maybe take a little risk and jump a low route and get an interception. I think that would be, something we can look forward on.
Before we completely put Saskatchewan to bed, we know it was back home for you. How many tickets were you on the hook for? And are you already starting to hear about possible playoffs?
Yeah, I was on the hook for about 15, I think. Okay. And then, a group of my friends got some Pill Country tickets to enjoy some light beverages out there. So
in the end zone
I didn't have to get the Pill Country tickets, but
they yelling at Zolan?
Pardon?
Were they yelling at Zolan? It was those guys?
Probably.
Zolan was getting it, our equipment manager.
Well, Zolan kind of gives it back.
He kind of, who started that? Yeah,
exactly. It's not like Zolan is like a wallflower, right? I mean, this is a guy that he's kind of vocal, so we'll see about that. But I look at this team, Ryder, and to me, the big thing is you've got to find something to galvanize you, right? Something to bring you together. And when you see teams that go on runs in any sport, right, it's usually something that happens early in the playoffs. and it just brings the unit together and makes them believe, right? So maybe it starts against Montreal, maybe it starts in the Western Final, but if you can get that moment, that feeling that, hey, we've got this, right? And you've been on, and you know what I'm talking about when you're on those teams that are doing great? Those great teams, you're always going to find a way you always believe you're going to find a way to win. No matter what the score, the circumstances, and conversely the other way, it's like, oh, here we go again. But if you can get something to bring this group together, to galvanize them in a tight game, a tight win, a big play, whatever, man, who knows what can happen because the talent is there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we just need like a character-defining game here. We need to really dig in and find it within ourselves to get a win in an impossible situation, or to just really just play fundamental BC Lions football all three phases of the game, and just know that we can do that week in and week out. Let's
talk a little bit about your game this season. You started off training camp basically with the after effects of mononucleosis, and your weight was down, and you wanted to get back in there like almost ASAP, and the coach was like, no, we're going to kind of make sure that you're okay. But how frustrating was that? Because, you work all off season to come into camp and be ready for the season, and then you get hit with mono during the course of the off season, and you come into camp and it delayed your start to the year.
Yeah, it was a good little bit of adversity for sure. It wasn't anything I'd wish on anybody really. It was really tough. Virus, going through that and being super tired and not being allowed to work out or run or lift too heavy or practice or anything. It was really not the best thing to have right before training camp, I'll say that. But it was good to fight back from, and you take a step back and just it's an opportunity, and you gotta work with what you have.
It impacted your weight too, right?
Yeah, just lost like 5 pounds probably.
Was that okay? I thought, because Rick I think told me it was like 10 or something like that, but if it's 5, yeah.
It could have been 10. I don't know.
One of the guys who missed some time in camp with injury, who would have been working out alongside you, was Christian Covington. How much did you interact with him? How much did he sort of work with you? What was that whole dynamic like, having a veteran like that who was also new to the Canadian game?
Yeah, it was good to know Cov, and we were just kind of in the end zone doing our own little workouts there. I'm doing my own thing, he's doing his own thing, but some drills we work together, trying not to get too close, so he was afraid of my mono, so I couldn't get too close to Cov, but I'd help him with some drills, and he'd help me and do some band-assisted sprints and stuff like that, so it was good.
And then it's only 4 weeks into the season when another injury has a massive impact on your trajectory of the season. That's Josh Woods going down against Edmonton in the linebacker room, and even a guy like Ben Haladek's been banged up, Bo Lacumbo's been in and outside of the lineup, and that's naturally allowed you to grow. So what experience do you think you've gained over this year just by kind of being forced to find more starting reps and building off that from special teams?
Yeah, it was good. You look at our linebacker depth going into the season, it was probably the best, it's been in a long time. For as long as I can remember on this team. So just the calamity of events that happened for me to be, thrust into the starting job. I don't think it was out of desperation, but I'm glad that I got the chance to do that. And the only way you really get better, or improve yourself and find out what you're good at and what you're not good at, is getting live game reps and going against top tier competition. So I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to
Julio
do that.
Caravetto always makes this point. He says the second year around you're way better suited to know what's going on, to have success. How much different is it in your second year compared to your first?
Yeah, a lot different. Just confidence-wise, even. I know my first year I didn't get that many defensive reps, but I was in there in the West Final and the West Semifinal and stuff in some big moments. But I remember being a little, you have the butterflies and stuff like that, just going out there and it's like, I'm playing against, Brady Oliveira in the West Final. This is a big moment. But just having been through that obviously helps you. That just becomes the norm now. You're expected that you're not just playing against guys in university who are not as good as CFL All-Stars in the West Final, but once that becomes your new baseline, then you just kind of you go from there.
Does the game slow down for you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Even I had a training camp the year I got drafted before I went back to university, so even that helped out a lot. I found in having the month against CFL competition, go back to university, and the game slowed down massively from that even.
And you're getting so confident that you doing the little Josh Woods tribute. What do you call that?
I don't know, provocative hip movement.
You got flagged for it.
Yeah, it was Hollins. Hollins set me up. He said, right before I went out there, he said, hey, if you made a play, I wanted to see the Josh Woods celebration. I said, okay, I got you. So made a play. Like, first play, right after, tried to find him. But the ref took that as me walking over towards the injured receiver.
Wow. That's a stretch.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, like, if Josh Woods gets away with it, why can't you get away with it?
Yeah, he thought that I was doing that at him. Or
Okay.
I made a point to go towards him. But
I got you now.
I only did half a motion, and then I noticed that he was still hurt, and I stopped.
And no three pumps.
No 3 pumps.
But you were telling me there, like, you had a couple things that another one that and this was a tribute to Josh, because obviously he's been lost for the season. There's like a Captain Marvel one in there or something like that,
yeah,
too?
there was a Doctor Strange one when he, like, opens the portals.
Yeah.
Because we had to come up with the celebration. So we have this one, and then we have, like, Brain Blast is what he gave that one to me. So, yeah, he's the big inspiration behind a lot of my celebrations. So.
All right, we'll take a quick break. On the other side, more with Lions linebacker Ryder Varga. Of course, we're coming to you tonight from the 120 Pub, Scott Road and 80th in Delta, according to Bakes. Sunday, all-day happy hour. Monday, all-day half-price food. Of course, they're going urban in the burbs, and it's an outstanding place here, the 120 Pub. Like I said, I used to come in here when it was the Whaler. Totally different. It's absolutely gorgeous. More with Ryder Varga. We'll talk to him about his journey in the game of football on the other side. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW.
Now back to more of Lions on Tap, presented by Coors Light. Once again, here are Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW, coming to you tonight from the 120 Pub, Scott Road and 80th in Delta. Big thank you to Matthew and, of course, the folks from Molson Coors for setting this up as well. Absolutely gorgeous room here at the 120 Pub, and we encourage you to come visit. Sunday, all-day happy hours. Monday, all-day half-priced food. It's the Moj along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions organization. Our guest tonight is Lions linebacker Ryder Varga. Ryder, we're going to talk a little bit about your journey in the game of football. You know, you're from Saskatchewan, and I love it when we get guys from Saskatchewan from, like, you know, places like Gull Lake, you know, bigger or whatever. Like, you know, some of those small little towns where you play 8-man football and you got to bus 2 hours or whatever for games. You're born in Regina, man. That's boring. Like, come on.
I mean, it's the best place I'd pick in Saskatchewan. Better than Saskatoon for sure.
Really?
Don't let Pickett tell you otherwise.
I've never been to Saskatoon.
I've been to Saskatoon. Yeah. Well, obviously back in the days when I coached at UBC, so we always went to Saskatoon. I'll say one thing about University of Saskatchewan, and I have this argument with anybody from U of S. The best home cooking in terms of referees is U of S, without a doubt. Oh. Like, I don't care what anyone says.
Has to be, of course.
Yeah.
Biased referees.
You are down a touchdown every time you go there, right?
Make it 2 for the Rams.
I remember one time we had a meeting with the officials prior to the game. Watch for the pick down at the goal line. They're going to run a pick. They've run a pick first play of the game. They run a pick. Do you think the referees call the flag? No. Vince Danielson, who played in the CFL for many years with Calgary, we ran, like, back in the day under the center, a 30 series. Like, it was a 32 pass out to the sidelines late in the game. 22 seconds off the clock, right? I mean, it's insane the home cooking they get at the U of S.
Yeah, it's an abomination for sure. We felt it crazy on the Rams. So
I bet. Talk a little bit about growing up in Regina and, you know, how you got involved in sports. Did you have older brothers? Was your family, like, you know, or sisters even? But, I mean, was your family involved in sports? How did you get involved?
Yeah, my family is a big hockey family, I'd say. My dad loved playing hockey. That was his love. And his brother, my uncle, played on the Regina Pats. Did pretty well, scored like 150 points.
Who's that?
Brian Varga.
Okay.
He was short, so, you know, didn't get the call to the NHL. But hockey's my first love. I think I started skating at like 3 or 4. Played it, loved it, and then just eventually started playing football around the age of 10, I think. And then just they kind of, you know, went different directions for me.
What made you choose football over hockey?
I was playing both, and I don't know, just kind of, you know, you feel strongly about one and not the other, and just hockey became more of a chore, I felt like, to me, and just I wasn't really excited to go to practice or anything, but football felt like something new and something I was really excited to get better at. So you played starting at grade 10, and then you kind of go through, and then you play... I was 10 years old. Yeah, apartment. Yeah. 10 years old. And then you play at La Boldis High School. You won 3 straight
high school championships.
Yeah, that was good. Those are some.
You think?
Some really good football teams. I won't lie to you. I think we won. I was part of a 6-peat. I think we won 6 in a row as a high school. Yeah.
Any players that played on those teams that we might know?
Nick Cross plays on Hamilton.
Okay.
Nick Daly played on the Riders for a bit. I'm forgetting some really good other athletes that just went to different sports. Like Chant Deciman played on the U of S Huskies. He's probably the best quarterback I've seen in high school. His highlight tape is crazy. But
cool.
Yeah.
So growing up, was it you at Mosaic Stadium idolizing all these Riders? Going up the Saskatchewan route of football?
Yeah, I went to a good handful of practices and stuff, and got pictures with Darren Durant and Weston Dressler and stuff like that after practice. So I wasn't like super diehard. Let's say we're going to every game, but we catch a good handful every year, and had a good time when I was there.
When did you realize that you could do something with football?
It wasn't till I'd say university. I never really. My goal was always just to be good enough to get into university. I'd say I got half my school paid for, through scholarships and stuff. So that was really like my main goal. And then 2019 or so, I had a really good year, and my coaches started talking as if that was a real possibility. And then from there, it kind of just came into fruition, and I started believing I could.
Was there a specific game that stands out with the Rams, or a specific accomplishment moment, something like that?
I remember my last year we played in BC against UBC, and that was a really tight game, really tough, hard-fought battle on all sides. We won after the UBC tried like a 1.5 minute long lateral attempt fiesta to try and get a touchdown at the end, but we won, and that was really exciting to do that.
The old rugby play attempt, right? Yeah. Let's talk about draft night. 2022 would have been Nick Kowalski's first draft as a BC Lions employee.
I filmed your call, yeah.
We call that the Sasky draft with Cherry, Pickett, yourself, right? You end up going back to the Rams for your last year of eligibility, but take us through getting the call from Neil, I guess it would have been, right?
That was Rick.
Was okay, Rick? Okay, I stand corrected. I should have remembered the video, but what was that like? Did you have a get-together? Did you have family around? What was that special moment like for you?
Yeah, I had a lot of my friends at my house and in my basement. We were just, having some appies and stuff, nothing crazy, just hanging around, watching the TSN feed, and then, of course, it cuts to cuts away after pick 20, I think. So then we were just watching the draft tracker, and I just see pick number 29, BC Lions, selected me, and I was kind of just in shock for a second, and got the phone call pretty much right away after that. So.
Was there a party that wanted to get drafted by the Riders?
That wanted to?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I think my mom was the one pulling for that more than anyone, just, so I didn't have to leave home, and she could always see me every day. But, I was just grateful to get drafted by any team. It's not really a given. I don't think we're at a point where you could pick and choose teams like Eric Lindros or anything, but it was surprising. BC was the only team that actually didn't give me a full interview. So I actually remember telling people before, I think I can get drafted anywhere but BC. They never really interviewed me. I think Rob Ralph called me for about 5 minutes, but that was about it.
Just playing hard to get, I guess, eh? But I guess you've gone to Vancouver a couple times playing UBC, but I've experienced this transition from the prairies going out to Vancouver. What are some of your favorite things now about living the BC lifestyle? Like, do you get outside? Are you more of a beach guy? Or
not a huge outdoors. I'm not at the beach every weekend, not like that guy.
Miss the prairie grass.
I miss the prairie grass. Smell of the dirty Saskatchewan air. But it's beautiful. I think that's the one thing. It's just so massive. It takes forever to get, from Surrey to downtown Vancouver. It's like a 45-minute SkyTrain ride. It's just the scale of the city just is mind-blowing. Yeah. But there's so much. You could do something different every day.
What was the biggest challenge in the transition, both on and off the field?
On the field, I would just say the speed. Every receiver or running back is the best athlete that I've ever seen in my life, basically. So you kind of be on point tackling anybody. But off the field, I'd say just playbook-wise. We had a decently complex playbook at the U of R, but Coach RP has a pretty big playbook and a lot of expectations for linebackers. And of course, me being a backup most of the time, having to know everyone's position, you have to be valuable know how to do every single position.
But that also helps you out, though, in the sense that you understand the entire concept, right?
Oh, for sure. And I always try and know what the entire defense is doing, but you know, it can be hard sometimes remembering coverage that we ran 12 weeks ago, what the field corner is doing, let's say. But it's good knowing what everybody else is doing and just being valuable so that, you know, if someone goes down, I can fill in seamlessly. You know,
it's interesting because you talk about you're always going up against the best athlete, right? And I remember players that played in the dub and they go to the NHL and they would say, every one of them would say, like, you know, you're always going up against a man, right? Like in the dub, you might be 19 years old and you might be going to the corner with a kid who's 16 or 17. That doesn't happen in the NHL, and it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know, you're playing, say, Manitoba, and they might have a tackle who's just out of high school, or they might have a running back out of high school. Brady Oliveira isn't out of high school, right? I mean, any back in the CFL, as you mentioned. But, you know, one of the things, too, that a lot of guys always talk about is how to manage time as a pro, because you have so much more time on your hands, right? And it's about getting your workouts in. It's about getting your film sessions in. It's about eating right. It's about sleeping and just developing all those habits. Was that something you kind of always adhere to, so the transition was a little easier when you got to the pros?
Yeah, I mean, so I took environmental engineering at the U of R, so I always kind of had to have some good time management. There wasn't a lot of time between, you know, schooling all day and then meetings and practice, and then, you know, have a girlfriend that whole time too. So trying to manage that and homework and studying, it was a lot.
What was the toughest part, the girlfriend?
No, that was the easiest part. That's my rock, but having to study all the time or do these tests and stuff was not fun.
Environmental engineering, you got your degree in, and we talked about this earlier this year. Probably the smartest guy on the team, even though you don't admit it. But tell us a little bit about what environmental engineering encompasses.
Well, it's a lot similar to like civil engineering, like, you know, roads or, you know, buildings and stuff like that, but it might be more, you know, environmentally specific. Like it could be air quality or water quality, it could be water testing, treatment, stuff like that. It could be traffic engineering. If you're ever mad at, you know, how the traffic lights are synced up, you just got to blame the city's traffic engineering department. So
city planning.
So you plan on, are you staying active in that field during the off season, or is that something that's on the back burner now?
I try to, but, you know, engineering firms aren't really that busy during the winter, and then they really aren't looking for a guy for like 5 months just to do like, you know, low level work. So it's on the back burner for now until I can find a place that suits me. But, you know, I kind of just want to focus on football for now, and then when that's over, I can pick up engineering whenever I need to.
The focus immediately is the Montreal Alouettes, successful against them the last time out. Not sure what type of a lineup we're going to see, given they've locked up first place and they're coming on a really short week, having just played Thanksgiving. But how do you view this challenge to get right before the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's a big like look in the mirror week. I think we got to figure out stuff within ourselves. I mean, Montreal is obviously a great team, one of the best in the East. They're gonna provide a big challenge, but I think if we can just lock into what we need to do better and what things we are failing at, I think that'll be the biggest thing this week, is just looking in the mirror, fixing ourselves first, getting into playoffs.
Do you feel that spark now with Vernon coming back? Because I know it's nothing against Nathan, but when Vernon's there, he's Vernon, right? He's just like that energetic guy 24/7. He has been the last 8 weeks too. So do you kind of feel like that extra little oomph this week with Vernon Adams Jr. back under center on offense?
We'll have to wait. We didn't have a full practice today. It was more just like walkthrough, so didn't feel it today. I'll tell you guys, I didn't feel it. But the next coming days, I'm sure I'll feel it. VA is a very, you know, he's energy. He's just, you know, he's always bringing that juice and yelling and screaming and being that kind of vocal leader. So I'm sure you'll hear him yelling if you're watching practice, and I'm sure you'll hear him at the game. So.
Well, Ryder, we're going to let you run. We appreciate you stopping by. Actually, I'm not going to say we're going to let you run. We're giving you the option of leaving, because usually with Kowalski comes up some trivia that might be related to you. I don't know what he has planned tonight in the final segment, so maybe you'll stick around. But if you don't, best of luck against the Alouettes this weekend at BC Place Stadium.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Ryder Varga, our guest tonight, Lions linebacker, stopping by here at the 120 Pub on Scott Road and 80th in Delta. And again, going urban in the burbs, if you get an opportunity, pop by the 120 Pub. On the other side, it is Nick Kowalski's world-famous trivia. What he has up his sleeve, no one has a clue, but it'll be good. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on 980 CKNW.
This is Lions on Tap, presented by Coors Light, the chill choice and official beer of the BC Lions. Now it's time for Nick Kowalski's world-famous trivia.
Oh, yeah, Kowalski's ready. It's the Moj, along with Matt Baker, ready to field Kowalski's questions as we come to you tonight from the 120 Pub, Scott Road and 80th and Delta. What did I say? What are you looking at?
No, nothing. I was going to say, you know you made it big when you have your own intro, is all I was going to say.
It's huge.
Yeah.
20 weeks running.
120 Pub, Sunday, all-day happy hours, Monday, half-day, half-price food. Check it all out. It's an awesome place. Love this place. Love this room. All right, Kowalski, what do you got for us?
One quick note, Brian Varga, 160 points for the Regina Pats in 1980. So, yeah, he was a stud.
He played for the Pats in the late 70s, early 80s. I probably booed him at Queen's Park Arena when they came into town to take on the mighty Bruins.
He was the guy that came over the glass to fight you, I think, right? Yeah.
But here we go. So long trip this week for the Montreal Alouettes, hey?
Mm-hmm.
It's the longest trip in the CFL.
On a
obviously.
short week.
We got to do it 5.5-hour flight. So in the CFL, the BC Lions and the Montreal Alouettes are the duo that makes up the longest trip. So can you guys name me the other 4 duos in the other 4 professional sports in North America?
Vancouver Canucks, Florida Panthers.
That is correct for hockey.
Seattle Seahawks and Miami Dolphins.
That is correct.
That would be right. Seattle Mariners and Miami Marlins.
That is correct.
There's a theme here. And then what are we missing?
Portland Trailblazers and the Miami Heat.
Oh, you got it. The fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
What are we going to do for the next 7 minutes?
You got another game? Let's play another game.
It's the matching question. Okay. So that just like last time I had this format with all the logos. So that reveals the answers where you have to pattern match. So for those listening,
it's basically easy. Pacific Northwest versus Florida.
Well, Boston, San Francisco. It's closer than you think.
I've done the Boston-San Fran flight.
It's close. Anyways, so we've got 10 questions there for those listening. Each team matches up to one question. So the questions I have are that this team has the same name as their affiliate. This team has the shortest name. This team had a perfect season. This team has the most division titles. This team was the last to win a title against a team from a different country. This team has the most retired numbers.
Can we start?
I'm going to list them all out. This is the team with the lowest winning percentage, team with the biggest stadium, the oldest team, and the team with the most wins.
Biggest stadium is Miami Dolphins.
That is incorrect.
Biggest stadium is
Miami, not baseball. BC Lions.
No, BC Lions is incorrect. Hard Rock's bigger than BC Lions, but Hard Rock is not the biggest stadium. You can go somewhere else. So each team matches up to one.
Florida's the team that last beat a Canadian team, Panthers.
Yes. Where is that question over here? Right here, Florida Panthers. So they beat the Edmonton Oilers last year. I was trying to fool you guys because the BC Lions beat the Baltimore Stallions.
Lowest win percentage got to be the Seattle Mariners.
That is incorrect.
No, okay.
Yeah. Miami Marlins.
Miami Marlins is the lowest winning percentage.
Okay.
Where is that question?
Team with the most franchise wins?
That's Seattle Mariners because they play the most games.
That is Seattle Mariners. Yeah, it was 1 of 2. So there you go.
Team with the most division titles.
Yeah, you might want to move on from that
Okay,
one.
are we talking Alouettes through the entirety or just like the
from their founding.
Okay.
So that
most
helps.
division titles, let's go with Montreal.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
It's process of elimination,
shortest
right?
name.
Shortest name.
Most retired
Miami
numbers has got to be...
That is incorrect.
Miami Heat's the shortest name.
That is incorrect.
What do you mean it's incorrect? Seahawks, Trailblazers.
Perfect season's Miami Dolphins.
Perfect season is Miami Dolphins.
That's easy. Mercury Morse and the boys. Team with the most retired numbers. Let's go with the Montreal Alouettes.
That is incorrect. So just for those listening, we have the Canucks, the Lions, the Alouettes, the Seahawks, the Heat, and the Trailblazers remaining.
Team with the affiliate with the same name. Well, the Lions don't have affiliate, so knock out the football teams. Basketball doesn't. It's the Canucks.
Yeah, Abbotsford Canucks.
How do we not?
Team with the most division titles. I would probably go with
BC Lions.
Incorrect.
Miami Heat.
Miami Heat is correct.
Okay.
There we go. Team that is the oldest. Then you'd have to go Montreal Alouettes.
Alouettes is correct.
All right. Team with the shortest name.
Seattle's got the biggest stadium.
Are you talking
Seahawks?
both?
Yeah.
We said Seattle for the biggest stadium.
No,
we didn't. You said the Mariners were the biggest.
All right. Team with the shortest name. BC Lions.
BC Lions. Yeah, that was the trick question there. So once
team with the most retired numbers.
That's
Portland Trailblazers.
Portland Trailblazers have the most retired numbers. I was shocked by that one. But
Bill Walton.
That's one.
Lionel Hollins, maybe? No.
I can look it up right now. I think Clyde Drexler's another
Clyde.
one.
Gotta be Clyde Drexler.
Yeah. Wow. That's a
but
good
there's a lot of them. I was actually surprised. I thought that one would stump you guys. It kind of did. It was the last one.
Nate McMillan. No, he was a Sonic. Yeah. All right.
Basketball, not my forte, just to let you know. maybe from like 70 to 80. That's where I kind of remember that Portland team that won the Trailblazers went, 78? They had Walton, Hollins.
Yeah, Lionel Hollins.
Yeah, Lionel Hollins coached the Grizzlies for a while.
Vancouver Grizzlies interim head coach, was he not? Yeah.
Lloyd Neal.
That was a good game.
Yeah.
The matching game is back.
We thought we had it stumped right there after, but there was an extra layer to that.
You just revealed the answers, yeah.
There you go, Kowalski. That was good. All right, before we get out of here, Matt Baker, what do we have planned in terms of festivities for the Alouettes game on Saturday?
Yes, final go-around at Save-On Foods Field at BC Place for the season. And let me just say, our fans, unbelievable. I know it's tough times right now, but still very much in this thing. I have to go on the road, and it'll be great to be in front of our great fans for the last time in the regular season. We'll see what happens a few weeks down the road, but we call it our Future Stars Night. Salute to amateur football. We'll have some kids playing pregame on the field, all the levels, and BC Football Hall of Fame, Julio Caravetta.
Yes, a big shout out to all those going in.
I might be missing a couple inductees.
Julio Caravetta.
Yeah, Paul McCallum.
My broadcast partner is
Paul
being
McCallum.
Inducted, so big shout out to Julio. Paul McCallum, who was with us last year on the broadcast. Of course, Lions kicker for many years. Glenn Suter from TSN.
Yeah,
He's
TSN
going
legend,
in. Dave Hackshaw, official.
Yeah.
He's going in. The Razorbacks right here from North Delta.
That's right, the 76 Razorbacks.
Unbelievable team that they had in those years. Are we missing somebody?
No. You got the TSN angle covered.
We got pretty much everybody covered. Okay,
yeah,
good.
I think you got it all.
Okay, good.
Farhan, congrats, Farhan.
Yeah, we got to say his name.
Yes. We're just kidding, Farhan. I know, we're just kidding. But that'll all take place beforehand, and kids' tickets, $15 for those 17 and under, adults at $25. The weather forecast isn't looking good, but not to worry. There may be some contingency plans on the backyard party. But either way, that gets going at 1 o'clock. There'll be $5 Molson Coors products. The Vancouver firefighters charities will be out collecting toys as we start to kick off the season of giving. So 1 o'clock again outside on Terry Fox Plaza, weather permitting, maybe have some updates on the tailgate party. But come on out and support your Lions for the last time at home in the regular season.
Should also mention the Hall of Fame inductees that we missed, namely UBC quarterback Sean Olsen, of course, the Vanier Cup champion with the Thunderbirds. Another great UBC player, Mike Emery, who was part of that, probably the greatest team in CIS history, the 1982 UBC Thunderbirds. Mike played many years in the CFL as well. So got to throw those guys in, along with Dave Stavely. And the late Brian McCain, original member of the Waterboys, who will be honored with the CFL Bob Ackles Award. So big shout out to those guys as well. Very quickly, Grey Cup.
Yes, get your GreyCupFestival.ca, all your tickets. Get them while you can. Tickets for the awards. Sam Roberts, the concert on Saturday night there at the Convention Center. But you've been to many of these. We've been the last couple of years, of course, in Regina and Hamilton. The team party, such a great spot. Yeah. All going to be under one roof, so get your festival party pass. Kowalski and myself will be at Lions Den, I'm sure, at some point. Hopefully we'll be busy that week. But GreyCupFestival.ca, and we're still approaching a sellout. So going to be a great fun week in Vancouver.
All right, that's a wrap for us tonight. Again, a big shout out to everybody here at the 120 Pub in Delta, Scott Road and 80th for their hospitality. Big shout out to Matthew and his staff, and of course the folks at Molson Coors. Again, they're going urban in the burbs. Sunday, all day happy hour. Monday, all day half price food. So check it out. Again, we invite you to join us for the Lions game on Saturday when they host the Montreal Alouettes at BC Place Stadium. Pre-game show at 3, kickoff at 4 on CKNW 980. We're out. You know what I'm going to tell you before we get out of here? Do what you got to do. Just do us a favor. Be safe.